Welcome again to this week's episode of LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV. I'm your host, Bronagh Morgan, and today we're going to be covering a really difficult topic. It's human trafficking. I know that people have been talking about this a lot lately because of where we are, and because it's the month of November, we talk about this a lot because of the Shine the Light campaign here in London, which is run by London Abused Women's Centre. I have the pleasure of having as one of my guests today, Kelly Talon Franklin. Now, Kelly is the founder and CEO of another organization which has been fighting human trafficking for many years. The name of the organization is Courage for Freedom. It also provides training for frontline workers who are helping and supporting victims of trafficking who are trying to escape from that life and find a path forward. So thank you so much for being here, Kelly.
It's my pleasure. There's so much for us to talk about, and especially this month. And we follow you and all the projects that you're involved in, and love how you're doing a lot of work in community. So all of us have something to do, and there's lots of good things to happen in human trafficking awareness. But then how do we start preventing it?
Absolutely. So I know that one of the goals of Courage for Freedom is human trafficking prevention. So talk to us about some of the initiatives that you've been involved with over the years in terms of, making sure people know that it's happening and can recognize it and can take action when they need to.
So one of the things that we've been really cognizant of, and, sometimes I have my own level of PTSD because I'm a survivor of human trafficking from when dinosaurs roamed the earth. So the things that we've seen, the things that we know and understand today are telling us we need to be working in prevention measures. It's not enough just to be aware. We actually have to give people actionables to know what they can do about it in their community, in their everyday life, with groups or associations or even industries. So there's space at the table. Actually, there's not even a table. There should be standing room only on this issue, especially the demographic that we focus on. The highest demographic of those trafficked in Canada is between 68 and 72% are all under 25. A large proportion are minors. And we, since 2013, have had the privilege of supporting over 375 victim survivors that are minors. We have learned so much along this journey. We are trafficking trauma informed. We use animals for therapy. We listen to survivors. And then we've been able to create modules that are both clinical and application strategies and protocols for everyone from frontline support workers to police to community agencies to moms and pops and grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles that just want to end the buying and selling of our children. We've been able to create campaigns and movements. The sign for Project En Route's behind me, where we had full governmental participation and everyone crossed the floor to start talking about the corridor issues. We've enjoyed years of London Abused Women's Centre being at the front of this conversation, but they, like us and everybody else in this, know that sex trafficking and sexual exploitation, especially under the consideration of what's happening to our young people, it needs unilateral care. It needs different support than domestic violence, violence against women and girls, partner violence. Those are good and great and supported things, and very often they intersect. But there is another measure that's required to assist survivors to exit, to stay exited, to give them the trauma care, to help them to understand, I am almost 60 and I will need support and care for my mental health, my PTSD, and my challenges through being a survivor. Triggers all kinds of things, and people cannot understand it. So don't even try. Listen to the survivors, let the experts do the work, We've seen some really amazing wins with government changes to legislation, announcement of a national day, and along with all those young people that we've had the privilege to support and help them to learn to self-direct their lives, because that's what I have to do every day. I have to self-direct past my trauma, past my PTSD and head chatter, that right now I'm looking at 37 young people on my whiteboard who at whatever stage they're in, that we continue to support with our volunteers and our horses and our ability to be available virtually and court support and advise and consult and work with families. We just all need to continue to work on this.
How does Courage for Freedom and how do you and your team, how do you do this work? How can, somebody like me and our viewers help support you in this essential work that you do? Like, obviously there's got to be a cost to it. What kind of volunteer support could we offer? What kind of things can people in the community do?
Well, it's not like we're going to introduce you to a survivor unless you can make at least a 2-year commitment and you're actually a professional that's going to offer the support they need. We don't need to be social working or playing at this. It needs very specific care that's person-centric. That's first. Second, we always need volunteers to do a myriad of things, everything from respond to socials, to do some graphics, to help have some fund and fundraising and everything else, to drop off furniture for somebody, to certify to be one of our drivers. Anything that is needed, we just say, email us, office@courageforfreedom.org. Let us tell you what we're doing. And not only that, what are we doing in the province next year? Stay tuned. We are going to, again, make history in a big noise. What are we doing in Canada next year for Project Maple Leaf? It's already in the works. And the more of us that join together in a movement to say, as Canadians, we are just not going to be silenced. And we want to end the buying and selling of girls and boys, our children, as sexual commodities. That the more of us that join in and do strange things like hold the sign or buy swag or follow our socials or message out or whatever way we can get you involved, if you're willing, we have something for you to do. And if you don't have the time to do direct involvement, you can't come to the barn with me when I'm working with a girl in therapy. But you can pay for that horse that heal programs. Those pasture ornaments are expensive, but they are one of the best ways to deal with PTSD and start them on their journey of safety and wellness and health. Help us put gas in the car as we drive across the province to meet with them and their families, or go to court with them, or meet with probation and parole officers, or help them reintegrate back to school. Anything that we are doing, you need to help fund, because there should never be a no in our vocabulary. There are not enough safe spaces. There's not enough resources to help with their secondary struggles. This is something that needs help in real time. And some days I just need to write a check to put them in an apartment, to offer them a box of groceries so they don't engage in survivor sex. You don't need to know everything we know. You just need to know your money's well spent. 95% of our charitable income goes directly for support services. Only 5% is administration. And it doesn't go to me, it goes to my assistant. 70 people volunteer for what we do that are professionals. And that's money well spent. We stretch the dollar of community to reach more and continue to reach them so that 3 months down the road, we don't say we're done. It's never done. The rest of their life, they're going to need help, support, and care to self-direct. So we are grateful for communities that love to change the narrative on this. They have lived experience and they have told us what's needed. If we donate, it will go to what we have heard and it will have immediate impact. This Christmas care kits, there should be no girl that's struggling through her trauma at Christmas. We know what they need for food, shelter, trauma care. Sponsor a girl's trauma care for a whole year. We don't care, just help somehow. And if you don't have the financial resources to make a tax receivable contribution, volunteer. or share what we're doing, and support London Abused Women's Centre and ANOVA and everybody else in community that's working together on this. We are not government funded. We rely on the community so that our work is very unrestricted. We can hop to it and get to her and give her what she needs in real time and not wait for an application to come through.
Thank you so much, because that's exactly, I think, what a lot of our viewers are looking for, is a call to action. So, thank you for explaining us different ways that we can help, because, somebody like you who's on the front lines and has been on the front lines of this societal nightmare for so many years now, you know where the money needs to go, you know where the effort needs to go, and you're doing the work on the ground. And I am so grateful for you. I'm grateful that you were able to spend some time with us today. Thank you so much, Kelly Talon Franklin. We're going to have to take a break, and we'll be right back with more LdnOnt TV.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Carbon monoxide is a deadly gas you can't see, smell, or taste.
Homes with fuel-burning appliances and/or attached garages must have working CO alarms installed outside all sleeping areas.
Don't let the silent killer get you. Install working CO alarms today.
I'm Shannon Woolley, host of Batter Up Beachville on Rogers TV. Join myself and Doug Harris as we learn more about the first recorded baseball game in Beachville.
My name's Ranger M, and I work at Catfish Creek Conservation Authority. I'm the community outreach technician, and that means I do a lot of this, chatting about all things nature and conservation with kids, adults, teachers, everyone. I love to knowledge share, and that's just what I'm going to do with you. So come on, let's go learn with Ranger M.
You're watching Rogers TV, London.
Welcome back to LdnOnt TV. I'm your host, Bronagh Morgan, and we've been talking today about human trafficking. I have with me two guests. I think one you're definitely familiar with if you are a Londoner, Jennifer Dunn, who is the Executive Director of the London Abused Women's Centre, and another guest who you probably have become familiar with if you haven't been before in recent days, based on a really powerful documentary that aired recently. It's called Fighting Traffic. The producer of that documentary is with us. Her name is Christina Howren. Thank you, both of you, for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having us, Bronagh.
Yes, thank you. You are I'm so grateful you could make it. Now, to talk about a really serious issue, maybe we'll start with you, Christina. What was the motivation for you to want to produce Fighting Traffic? What got you, interested in bringing all of these really, really important issues to light?
I used to be a reporter in London, and I had worked with Megan Walker and the London Abused Women's Centre in the past. And human trafficking was definitely on my radar. But what really prompted this documentary was I was trying to find out what happened to a convicted murderer who was also facing trafficking charges. I wanted to know what had happened to those trafficking charges, and I couldn't find it out, at least not easily. And then I realized that media, because of publication bans and a variety of reasons, we rarely are able to actually cover a trial when it comes to trafficking all the way to the end. And I thought it was really troubling that I couldn't easily find this data. I'm a reporter. I usually can get this stuff really handily. So I called Megan Walker. And at the time, she was the ED of Locke. And I said, so how are you handling this? And she started talking. And I went, okay, I got to come to London. I'm coming back to London. I'm meeting with you. I'm going to meet with Jen. And we're going to see what we can do to kind of put this back or put this on the forefront of people's minds. When she started telling me stories that were happening in London and just the prevalence of human trafficking in what is largely considered to be an average middle class Canadian city. It's a large city, but it's not it's not Montreal or Vancouver or Toronto. It's not small. It's the pretty average city with a university and a world-class healthcare center and world-class research happening at a Fanshawe and Western and UHN LHSC. And yet this was still happening in a city that I would have considered relatively safe. So I was very fortunate that Jen at the London Abused Women's Centre and Megan, when she was still there, as well as some of the other contributors, were willing to give so much of themselves to help make this a reality.
Absolutely. And I think, Jen, you can speak a little bit to, how prevalent this problem is. Kelly, Talon Franklin, we talked to a little bit earlier about, the corridor. She mentioned the corridor. And so we really are, unfortunately, a hub for human trafficking in North America. So can you talk to us a little bit about how prevalent this problem is in our area, Jen?
Yeah, we are. London is definitely a hub for human trafficking. And so the reason for that is because London is situated right between a border city. So you have Windsor and then Detroit on the other side. And then you have Toronto, which is 2 hours away. So we're smack dab in the middle. So you have hotels that are situated right by the 401, easy access in and out for very short-term stays. And it can be a stopping point or a pickup point for traffickers to frequent. And so it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And so the London Abused Women's Centre between the months of January 2020 and June 2021 saw over 1,200 women come through our doors who had identified as being trafficked. And so that just speaks volumes to the issue. And thankfully, there are agencies in our community that are able to help and be there for the women when they're ready or when they need it.
Absolutely grateful to organizations like yours as well. And I think, Christina, the documentary highlights the fact that these aren't women that are, being brought to this area. This is actually happening in our neighborhoods and with our, I have, school-age children with their classmates. This is happening in our community as we speak.
Oh, it is. It 100% is. And one thing that the research really showed me is that overwhelmingly, victims of human trafficking in Canada are Canadian or permanent residents. They are not being shipped here in shipping containers. They are not being brought in little boxes and, by some evil Eastern European man or, somebody from South Africa or South America. These are Canadian individuals, right, that are already here. They're being lured through online, like through things as easy as like Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram, but they're also being lured from campuses, from schools, from halfway houses, and for those that are struggling with addiction, from the street. A lot of the victims are individuals who are middle class women that may or may not have an education level, but a lot of them are also being lured by their boyfriends, the so-called Romeo pimp. And now, don't get me wrong, people are being brought to London as trafficking victims. But many of the victims are coming straight off of the streets. And we heard that from our contributors. All of our contributors that were survivors had been trafficked, were living in London, and were trafficked out of London. And it's mind-boggling to know that it's happening right next door. It could be your neighbor, it could be your sister, it could be your classmate, it could be your coworker. It's really hidden in plain sight.
That was really one of the things that struck me from the documentary as well, is that it's kind of on all of us to recognize this and do something about it when we see it. But there's an education piece missing that I think both of you work on in terms of like, how do I recognize it? What do I do when I see it? And how can I help and not make the problem worse for the person who is being trafficked? So maybe can you talk to me a little bit about that?
I think, Jen, if you don't mind, I'm going to lob it over to you since you're more of an expert in this area and I don't want to overstep.
No, that's fine. So I think that I wanted to say too about what Christina said in regards to a trafficking victim being a girl next door. So the point that London is on the 401 and we have so many easy access points to the 401 makes it easy for those individuals to travel up and down the 401. And so that's a point that I probably should have mentioned before. But some of the signs, so Christina mentioned the Romeo pimp. So you're talking about, it's exactly as it sounds. So you're talking about a man who presents as somebody who is going to make a bunch of promises and treat a girl exactly as she would want to be treated. And that's where the word Romeo comes from. So you're thinking Shakespeare, and that's exactly the point. But those types of things will quickly turn or be noticeable in a way where a girl might be wearing really expensive shoes or be able to get their nails done. Then they wouldn't have been able to maybe do that before. And so some of those are signs, but there's also some signs like, you know, it doesn't look like a real relationship for the outside people maybe, but the girl wouldn't see that because this Romeo pimp is giving her everything that she wants and everything that she needs. And that's, you know, one of the key ways and the big ways that this kind of thing happens. You're right, Bronagh, more awareness is needed. And that's why this documentary that Christina and her team did is so unbelievably important right now, because I think it really shows what is happening in London. And I know that, you know, I've heard some feedback from people who are just average people in the city. And after seeing this documentary, they were blown away and had no idea that this kind of thing was happening in our city. And so it starts there. And then you have community collaboration on top of that and working together and talking about gaps in service, issues and trends. And it all needs to come together and we all need to work together.
Absolutely. And this is the month that London Abused Women's Centre shines the light on issues like this in our community. It's the month of November. Talk to us about some other things that we can get involved with this month, actually.
Sure. So the Shine the Light on Women Abuse month is November here in London. And so you'll see different establishments turn purple in the city. Monday, November 15th is Wear Purple Day. And so the idea is to show women and girls that they are not alone. And so imagine walking down the street wearing a purple shirt and some girl sees you wearing a purple shirt and knows that they're not alone. That's what it's all about. And we need to continue the conversation.
I would love to continue this conversation, but that's all the time we have for this segment. Hope our viewers will stay with us for a little bit more LDNOnt TV. And thank you so much, Jennifer Dunn from Locke, Christina Howren from City TV for being our guest today.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Are you a woman experiencing abuse? Do you know a woman experiencing abuse? Help is available any time of day or night. Sheltersafe.ca is an online map that helps you find a women's shelter or transition house that meets your needs so you can live a life free from violence. Sheltersafe.ca. Help is just a click away.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Mario Elia, and I'm the host of a new show here on Rogers TV that we're calling Keeping London Healthy with Dr. Mario. So tune in Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. and we'll see you then.
For more information about the vaccine and eligibility, visit healthunit.com. To book an appointment, call the number on your screen or book online at covidvaccinelm.ca.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Welcome back to LdnOnt TV. Now we have a short clip from the documentary we've been speaking about, Christina Howren's Fighting Traffic. You can see the full documentary on City TV News Toronto's website. Thanks for being with us.
Today, Megan is staking out a strip of hotels catering mainly to business travelers, located off Canada's busiest highway, the 401.
Let's just take a little drive through while we're here, shall we?
She's looking for the men coming here to illegally pay for sex, the Johns, who are creating the high demand for women that's at the root of this problem.
So, let's get in and see where they're going. This is another hotel right here.
Right.
Very common for trafficking, very busy. One person recently described it as a whorehouse. That's how busy it is, which is very derogatory. But
what do you look for when you're trying to track, is this person a John?
any man that gets out of a vehicle without luggage, first of all, is a red flag for me. The first thing I do is I take the car make, and then I want to take their license number. So if I do see the same car twice, I can confirm who it is. Then I take a bit of a description of the individual, and then I look for the time in and out. Okay, so who's this guy and where's he going? Okay, so it's
a Dodge Caravan?
Yeah.
Older, black shirt. He went in at 7:25. He had no luggage.
Yeah, let's see when he comes out. Usually it's half an hour, 45 minutes at the most.
If you're a trafficker and you have a girl in here, how do you get the Johns to find them?
Sometimes the girls will stand at the windows and look out. So the guy will come, call, and then she'll say, okay, you can come up, I'm in this room. And then she'll generally close her curtain. The trafficker will coordinate, this guy's coming in to do this. This is the money you need to take from him. You know, can you imagine having a guy urinate on you while you sit in the bathtub, and then you get out and you have to say, okay, that'll be like $100 now. Like, it's just...
It's dehumanizing.
Yeah, it's horrendous. Okay, who's this?
That's the guy. Gray pants, older, black shirt.
Hey, sir, are you staying here?
No.
We're just monitoring all the activities at the hotel to help women who are being trafficked. I just wanted to pass this on to you in the event that you're back in there and you see any suspicious activity. It'd be really great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
look at how long was he in and out?
He was in there for 7:25, so 22 minutes. That's enough time to, like...
Get a blowjob?
He's not staying here. We move on. This is just one location among dozens in London where Johns are contributing to a $150 billion global sex trade.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Watch London Nationals hockey on Rogers TV.
Watch London Nationals hockey at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Watch London Nationals